About a month ago, I was faced with a very hard decision. It was time to buy a modern BMW, and my two choices were the BMW F10 M5 and the F80 M3. I followed my heart and started searching for M5 deals. I wasn't really picky about the options it had, just wanted to get one that made sense. And that's when I came across one that to most people made zero sense. It was a tastefully optioned 2015 BMW F10 M5. It had the competition package, full leather, Bang & Olufsen sound system, and the one option that caught my eye, BMW's frozen black paint. The matte paint job is what really kept my eyes glued to this M5, and it was difficult to look at any of the other ones that were available for sale. The color was so unique, I figured it would be the perfect car for what I do for a living, which is content creation. It would draw in so much more attention, more shares, and ultimately it would just make sense. I quickly did a research on caring for matte paint, and what I found was not very reassuring. Well, I still bought the car, and I gotta say, it's by far the most stressful ownership I've ever experienced.
It's been an interesting experience with my frozen black BMW F10 M5. Like, I hate driving it. And it's not that I hate how it drives, like physically. It's more so I hate driving it because the more I drive it, the more I ruin it. The crazy thing is that when I took delivery of this car, I knew it would be a bit of a struggle to maintain, mainly because of the frozen black paint on the car. But man, did I not expect it to be as hard as it's been the last few weeks. Like, it's absolutely insane. I've been literally cleaning this car every 2 days, and I've been using like quick detailers to keep up with it between those 2 days. You see, matte paint kind of goes against everything that you normally follow when it comes to traditional glossy paint. Obviously, I purchased this car used. It has about 45,000 miles. You see this super light scratch here in the paint. Not sure if you can see it on video here. While it might not bother most people, it kind of bothers me, but to be fair, I knew it was there before I bought the car. The thing is, that light scratch is permanent on this paint. Let me explain why. Here's my E90 335i. You see this scratch right here? It's pretty similar to the one that I just showed you guys on the F10. The only difference is that this can buff out. You can literally get some wax, get a buffing machine, and if you know what you're doing, you can completely remove the scratch by spreading the clear coat, repolishing it. Scratch like this one right here, you cannot do that on the matte paint, because what happens when you start polishing an area on this finish, you're gonna make it shiny. And once you get that polish mark, there's no way to get it back to matte. Because I don't know if you guys knew, but the way that matte paint is created, it's not the paint itself, it's how the clear coat is applied to the paint. On a glossy finish like the E90, essentially the clear coat is a very smooth and even finish, which is how you get that glossy effect. In order for the paint to appear like matte, just like this frozen black paint, the clear coat gets applied in an uneven way, if that makes any sense. Essentially, it's not smooth. It's uneven, so that way when the light reflects off of it, it creates this matte look. Which means that if you get a big scratch on the car and you can't live with it, you can't just buff it off like you can on a traditional paint. You're gonna have to get whatever panel it is repainted. Here's the scoop though. BMW themselves, they don't sell or provide touch-up paint for like their individual colors, their specialty paint like this matte black right here. You would have to get an independent shop or person to mix it themselves, and hopefully you can get it to match with the rest of the car. Because not only is the clear coat applied differently for this matte effect, if you look really close, which you probably cannot see on video, it has pearl. There's like sparkles, there's pearl inside of this paint. So not only do you have to get the clear coat correct, the correct orange peel for the clear coat, you also have to add the right amount of pearl so it would match with the rest of the car, which sounds like an absolute nightmare. At that point, you might as well just paint the whole car, get rid of it. The good thing for me is that in this episode and the next episode for the M5, I'm actually gonna go ahead and do something to the car to ease my mind a little bit. Let's go ahead and go for a drive, and I'll explain to you guys further why it stresses me out to drive this car.
So I'm currently on the freeway right now, and this is like the worst situation for me when I'm driving. When there's traffic, and there's like a few car lengths between cars, I hate driving in this situation. This, like, honestly, I've never been so paranoid in my life. Like, this car is not even that close to me, but it just scares the hell out of me. One thing, because it doesn't have any mud flaps. That's something I never used to notice before. Now when I'm traveling behind a car driving the M5, I'm looking for cars that have mud flaps. If they don't have mud flaps, I literally switch lanes. I also drive slower than I have ever driven before too. because I'm trying to give the opportunity for the car in front of me to kind of get far away. Like the only time I ever even attempt to speed on this car is when I have a completely clear lane. Like that's the only way to do it. Because other than that, I'm too terrified to to speed while there are people in front of me, because it's a bigger possibility of getting rock chips at the front bumper. And on the frozen black paint, it's much more noticeable when you have damage up front. I don't like this, so I'm gonna switch lanes. Yes, I did use turning signals and I'm driving a BMW. Turning lanes. I'm gonna switch over another lane. And you see, this is somewhat ideal right here. This is somewhat ideal. I have a good 8 car lengths between me and the car in front of me. I like this, I feel comfortable. But see, this guy's about to cut in probably. No, he didn't cut in, we're good. Typically, if I'm city driving, it's not that big of a concern. I don't mind driving next to people because people are not really going that fast anyway. So the chances of anything flinging over to your car is very, very low. But on the highway, you know, a rock being thrown at your car from like a dirty vehicle or a truck or something like that is super likely. Essentially, I'm the fastest car on the highway right now, but I'm also driving the slowest because I ain't trying to get this paint damaged. Imagine that, guys, driving every day, and the biggest worry, like the biggest thing occupying your mind, is trying to protect the paint on your car. That's literally me ever since I bought the M5 in late December. It's literally that. You see, now I'm super comfortable. The car in front of me is super far away. There's no semi-trucks anywhere around, because if there is a semi-truck, I speed up. I get the hell out of the way. I don't want to be on the side of it, behind it, or anything like that. The other con of driving on the highway with a car like this that obviously requires a lot more maintenance for the exterior is that you're going to get some bugs in the front bumper. So essentially, I'm cleaning this car after every drive. That's right. I'm literally cleaning this car after every drive, at least the front bumper part. I'll get like a quick detailer for matte paint jobs and I'll clean it. I mean, honestly, if I drove an F10 M5 that had a regular glossy paint job, I probably wouldn't really care as much, because I haven't with the previous cars that I had. And you see this pickup truck in front of me right here? I don't feel too bad. He has some big old mud flaps there that I'm sure that, you know, if it runs over some rocks or debris, it's gonna block a lot of it. I don't feel too bad there. But regardless, I'd rather be in my own lane. That's just how I feel comfortable. You see this situation right here? You see the semi truck? I'm gonna go right past it. I'm not gonna waste any time. This guy is running so close behind that semi truck. That's like rock chip city right there. You're asking for rock chips. I'll never drive behind a truck like that, like ever. Unless I necessarily have to, I will never do it. I don't really have that much of an issue with like the traditional box trucks, trailers where everything's enclosed inside. It's more so those dump trucks that have like this very thin and beat up like blanket, and they're carrying like rock and sand, and the minute you drive behind them, you can just hear all the debris hitting your car. Look, you can hear it, you can physically hear it. Those are the ones that I really stay away from completely. You see right here, when we're driving locally, it's much better. Less stressful, less rock chips. You're just chilling 30 to 40 miles an hour. Highways are the only big issues, which is why a lot of like show cars, you know, people that have show cars, they typically take the long way and go local. They never hop on like the freeway or anything like that because of the risk. Especially on cars that are super slammed and super low and have very expensive exterior bits. I first experienced this headache of, you know, driving the frozen black F10 M5 when I was driving back from Georgia. I had flew over there with Ali to go pick up the car, and then we drove back 6 hours on the freeway, you know, 70, 80 miles an hour the whole way, and I didn't think much about it. Came home and seen 3 new rock chips on the front of the car. Like, and then everything changed after that. I went into straight like paranoid mode. It was bad. The good thing is that I have a solution for all my concerns, so I can put my mind at ease. The first solution is using Dr. Beasley's products. These guys are like among the best and most respected when it comes to taking care of your matte paint job on your car. That's not going to be in today's episode though. It's going to be in a following M5 episode where I team up with Matt from Obsessed Garage, where he's going to go ahead and use a lot of these products, and then I'll try to educate you guys and explain to you guys why this is the way to go if you have a matte car. And the second solution is I'm going to take this M5 over to Garden Wraps. Those are the guys that went ahead and wrapped my E93 in that matte ice silver titanium color. They have a special product that's designed
for matte paint jobs. And they're gonna help me out. That way I don't have to stress as much when I drive this car. You remember this guy?
Hello.
You remember him from one of two times. Either the first time was when he wrapped my E93, or it was the other time when he walked my E93.
Whoa.
Which of the two is it? I'm getting revenge on you, by the way.
That's okay.
But if you guys are new to the channel, we are here at Guardian Wraps. They actually share the location here with Hard Part Performance. As you guys can see, this is a pretty big project that's going on with the Supra right here. Full wide body, I guess painted, wheels, just everything. Just look at the wing. It's absolutely insane. Is that something you guys would rock on your A90 Supra? Wow. And then of course you got to keep it modern here and keep the Tesla as well. It's getting a really nice wrap, it looks like. These guys here really know what they're doing. Very good at what they do. Check them out. They're in the Central Florida area. Guardian Wraps and Hard Part Performance. Of course, before we do anything to the car, we gotta give it a nice wash. Well, at least the parts that we're gonna take care of, which is the entire front end and the rear bumper, well, the top portion of the rear bumper. But yeah, I washed this car like a day and a half, 2 days ago, and it's absolutely filthy. That's the thing with frozen black. Not only is it hard to maintain, but you can literally see all the dirt, all the watermarks. I mean, that's the same thing with pretty much any black paint in general. Glossy, matte, doesn't freaking matter. All right, so now she's nice and clean. Well, at least the front end, the hood, and the fenders, rear bumper as well. We went ahead and closed the garage door to make sure we get the least amount of dust possible in here. And no surprise, we decided to go with Expel, which is a company that specializes in paint protection with a lot of things, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's definitely the best thing you can do aside from doing a color change to protect the paints on your car. Mainly because it's a lot easier to clean and they have some self-healing properties. So if you get some like light swirls over time, the heat will kind of just bring it back together.
Does that include this one right here?
Yep, absolutely.
Ooh. Okay, so what's different about this one though? It's not your traditional PPF or paint protection film. This one is actually made specifically for matte cars like this frozen black, or you can add a twist to glossy cars, right?
Yes, you can actually use which they call the stealth. If you have a gloss car, you can basically matte it over, and it'll kind of give it like that matte metallic look or take on the characteristics of the original paint.
Sweet. So does this come like pre-cut for each vehicle? You cut it your own?
So there's different ways you can do it. For your car, it's a pre-cut kit. So everything's fit to the contours of your car, which basically obviously reduces having to use a blade or cutting, but there is an option of doing a freehand if you want a more deeper coverage, but that's a entirely different process on its own.
And by deeper coverage, you're talking about like around like the gaps and around the panels and stuff like
exactly.
that? Gotcha. Awesome.
But even with the pre-cut kits, they do have the option to have a little bit extra material if you want to go that route.
Gotcha. So essentially, to ease my mind and driving on the highway and driving at speed and driving behind semi-trucks, we're going to get the front of the car clear ball, PPF, paint protection film, to make sure that it resists. I guess, does it resist or does it protect against rock chips? It
protects against rock
chips. It protects against rock chips, unlike ceramic coating where it just makes it easier to clean the car and helps with water spots and stuff like that. This one actually protects it against rock chips. And like I said earlier in the video, is one of the reasons why I'm always stressed out when I have to drive this car. Now I'm going to have more of an ease of mind. I can floor a little bit. I can get up to speed. I don't have to panic so much. And technically speaking, it'll be easier to clean as well. So yeah, should be a good thing overall. Yeah, can you see the PPF? I think I can see some of it.
It's basically one big puzzle.
Yeah, can you guys see it? It's a puzzle. It's essentially a puzzle. Would you say this is more complicated to install than regular vinyl wrap?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Mainly because it's pretty much a one-shot deal. Okay. So once it goes on, and we got to make sure there's no dirt or anything. Like, it's got to be super, super clean. And I mean, that's it. Like, once it's on there, it's on there. Unless you want to replace it.
I've heard other people compare it to like window tints. Is that true?
No, window tinting is definitely its own class. The only similarity is you're using a similar like soap and water mixture to put it on. But I mean, the material itself completely different.
Completely different.
Yeah.
Gotcha. This should be exciting. I'll show you guys a little bit of the process, and then I'll speed things through so it doesn't get too boring, and I'll show you guys the final product. My biggest concern is, since we're only getting the front bumper, hood, fenders done, I was afraid that there would be a big discrepancy between panels. I've heard that it shouldn't be too bad. I'm hoping for the best, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'll get the front end protected, right? That's better than, let's say if there's a small discrepancy, at least that's better than getting the front end completely damaged, and then it costs you a lot of money to repaint or whatever. So we'll see how the product is. I'll show you guys. I'm pretty much the guinea pig for you guys, and if you decide to do something like this, now you guys know.
Man, was I excited to get this film installed onto the M5. More protection meant that I didn't have to stay on top of it all the time, and contaminants like bug splatter up front wouldn't have to be cleaned off immediately. This is exactly what I needed.
Mirrors?
Mirrors.
Wow. We're not doing mirrors today, though.
How do you say mirror?
Mirrors? Mirror?
Mirror. Mirror.
Mirror.
Mirror.
Mirror. Mirror.
Mirror.
Yeah, we decided not to do the mirrors today. Are you laughing at how I say it? We decided not to do the mirrors today because I'm actually getting carbon fiber covers for the mirrors.
So we're going to save those for later.
I left the shop to finish another video, came back to see the progress, and what I saw was not what I was expecting. So there's one small, well, not small, kind of big issue. Let me explain. So the fenders are done. You can see the PPF is there. Actually, you can even see it on camera. There's a discrepancy. The one that I was talking about before, that it could potentially happen. Actually, it's harder to see on video, but you can actually see it. You see how it's a little bit more muted. This one has like a darker, rich tone. It's not really the fault of the PPF or the installers or a guardian wrap. It's more so the car has 45,000 miles. The frozen black paint, when it was first, I guess, put onto the car when it was a brand new car, it wasn't as shiny, but over the, I would say over the years and the mileage, you wash it, you keep, drying it. You slowly buff that matte, uneven clear coat away, and eventually it becomes what it looks like today. One of the guys that's very familiar with this product was telling me that if I would have PPF'd it, let's say like straight from the factory, then it would probably flow in much better. It would flow better with the rest of the paint, but obviously that's not the case here. So my only option, because there's no way I can live with this right here. It's just, there's no way. We're in a social media age. I take a lot of pictures and video of this. I cannot just do the front end. So the only option would be to PPF the entire car or not have the PPF at all. Literally my only two options. But even PPF in the whole car, it changes the appearance of the car, which I kind of like it like this. But at the same time, I told you guys, rock chips, my fear of driving on the highways behind trucks and everything. So I kind of have to make a decision. Do I PPF it? Do I not PPF it? Do I just ceramic coat it? What the hell? Let me know, comment section below what you guys think. This is a very, very tough decision, but I got to decide fairly quickly. I just couldn't keep the PPF on. The two-tone was absolutely killing me. This might sound crazy, but at this point I preferred having rock chips than having my car look like it had a faded front end. I told the guys at Guardian Wraps to take it off. I'd rather just lose the money. Just to clarify, I absolutely love my F10 M5, and even if I knew what I know now about matte paint, I would still buy it again. The car is such a good conversation starter pretty much anywhere I go, and I can imagine how good it would look once it's modified. You never know, maybe once I'm past the honeymoon stage, I won't care as much. In the next M5 video, I'll try out option number 2. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on it. Make sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching. Until next time.